Okay, let's unpack this. An epidemic of laughter. It sounds, well, bizarre,
It
right?
really does. Almost unbelievable.
But it happened. Back in 1962 in Tanganyika, that's Tanzania now, this Tanganyika laughter epidemic. We've got some interesting sources on this.
Yeah, and our goal here really is to dig into what happened, why it happened, and maybe what it tells us about, well, us, human behavior under pressure.
Because it wasn't just people finding things funny, was it? The sources make that pretty clear.
No, not at all. It's way more complex. It's tied up with stress, social dynamics. It's a deep dive for sure.
So it kicks off January 62 at the Contagion Girls' School.
That's right. Starts with just 3 girls, apparently, laughing, but like uncontrollably.
And it spreads.
Oh, it spreads fast. Within a couple of months, you've got 95 students affected out of about 160. They actually had to close the school in March.
Wow. But the teachers, they were okay?
Yeah, that's a really key detail the sources highlight. The staff weren't affected, which immediately makes you think, okay, this isn't your standard flu bug or something.
Right. Not a typical infection pathway.
Exactly. And closing the school, well, it seemed like the obvious thing to do, but it actually helped it spread.
How so?
The girls went home to their villages, and then suddenly you see cases pop up in Ashamba village. Over 200 people there.
Oh, wow. So it followed the students home.
Pretty much. Then the school reopens, more girls get it, closes again, and it just keeps moving. To other schools, other villages.
How far did it reach?
The sources estimate about 14 schools, maybe 1,000 people, all told, over roughly 18 months. And it looks like clear person-to-person, social transmission.
But, okay, you said it wasn't just laughing. What else was going on? The symptoms.
Yeah, this is crucial. It wasn't like happy laughter. It was paired with uncontrollable crying, too.
Oh, crying.
And restlessness, people running around aimlessly, sometimes getting violent if restrained, plus physical pain, fainting, breathing problems, rashes. Even uncontrollable flatulence was reported.
Good grief. That sounds awful.
It does, and some people felt strange things, like something moving in their head or feeling like they were being chased. The attacks themselves could last, minutes to hours, but the whole affliction for one person could drag on for up to 16 days.
16 days. That's intense. And did it have lasting effects?
Teachers apparently noticed students struggling with concentration afterwards, so yeah, not just a fleeting thing.
Okay, so with all those physical symptoms, rashes, fainting, pain, you'd think, okay, something medical must be going on. A toxin, an infection.
That's what doctors thought too. But the investigations, according to the sources, came up empty.
Really? Nothing?
Mostly nothing significant, no consistent fever initially. Physical exams usually normal, maybe some dilated pupils or jumpy reflexes sometimes. But no infectious agents in blood or spinal fluid, no signs of food poisoning or water contamination.
So they ruled out the obvious physical causes.
Exactly, which led them, by exclusion really, to a diagnosis of mass psychogenic illness, MPI.
MPI, okay, break that down. What does that mean?
Basically, it's when illness symptoms spread rapidly through a group, but there's no underlying infectious or toxic cause. It's thought to start from some kind of nervous system disturbance, usually linked to psychological stress.
And then it spreads socially?
Yeah.
Like through suggestion or imitation?
Precisely. Social contagion. There are different types, apparently. This one fits the pattern often called mass motor hysteria because of the prominent physical actions, the laughing, crying, running, and the fact it lasted so long.
And the stress. The sources link this strongly to the time and place, right? Tanganyika, 1962.
Absolutely. You have to consider the context. The country had just gained independence weeks before. Huge societal changes were happening.
Like what?
Well, new government, socialist ideas coming in, changes to land ownership, how things were run. It's a period of massive uncertainty, potential stress for everyone.
The schools themselves, these are mission schools.
Yes, often acting as a sort of interface between traditional culture and Western ways. Strict rules, maybe unfamiliar teaching, students away from family, potential for cultural friction there too.
Plus, new education reforms after colonialism.
Yeah.
More pressure on students.
Definitely. And you've got this potential clash between old values and new ideas right there in the classroom. It all adds up.
And why adolescent girls, predominantly?
Well, adolescence is already a time of change and stress. Add in the social dynamics of a girls' boarding school, maybe their specific place or status within that structure. It suggested they might have been, particularly vulnerable to this kind of collective stress response.
So the idea is underlying stress builds up in this specific group.
Creates a kind of fertile ground.
And then when the symptoms appear in a few individuals, it spreads through social contact. seeing it, maybe subconsciously mimicking it, amplified by the shared anxiety.
That seems to be the best explanation fitting the facts, like a social chain reaction fueled by stress. And again, the laughter itself wasn't joy. It was a symptom of distress alongside the crying and everything else.
Right, so calling it just contagious laughter really misses the point.
It absolutely does. The MPI, the psychogenic illness fueled by stress, that's what was contagious. Laughter was just one, albeit very noticeable way it manifested.
So looking back at this really strange event, what are the big takeaways for us, you think?
Well, I mean, it's a powerful example of the mind-body connection, isn't it? How collective stress isn't just, a feeling. It can produce real physical seeming symptoms on a large scale.
And how culture shapes things.
Definitely. How psychological distress shows up can be influenced by cultural context. Even the local names people gave the epidemic reflect their attempts to make sense of it. It really pushes back against seeing illness as purely biological.
Okay, so summing up, the Tanganyika laughter epidemic wasn't funny at all. It was this really complex outbreak of mass psychogenic illness.
Triggered by significant stress in a specific time and place and spread through social contagion.
A fascinating, if unsettling, piece of history.
It really is. And it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? A thought for you, the listener, perhaps.
Yeah.
In our own times, with all the rapid change and anxieties we face, what collective behaviors that seem, inexplicable might actually have similar roots in hidden stress and the power of the group. Something to think about.